Okay, Alex, getting ready to build up and train and work with your players, but we all know what we started the season with. That 10-game mark has finally arrived. Just your overall thoughts?
Yeah, plenty to be pleased with and plenty to work on. Obviously, we've been extremely pleased with being where we were after Saturday's game. If we'd have won, and we were obviously in a position going into the latter stages of that game where we were sat nicely in the playoffs with a good points haul, but 10 minutes later things have changed, hadn't they? And obviously we're now sat where we've been sat for a few weeks, really, just hovering in that top half. Still pleased with the points haul that we got out of it, and I think many people would have taken that associated with the club. But now for the 10 games that follow, obviously we've got to look to attain other objectives. Clearly we've got a team that's competitive. They've been in every single game aside from the Salford one. For obvious reasons. We've got a team that's going to go out there and push the opposition right till the very end, but what we've got to do in these next 10 games now is start to develop more controlling games with the football. And I said right from the start of the season that the aim was to evolve that side of the game after getting the stability and the structure right defensively, because we all feel that must have come first and had to have come first. And now the players have got that sense of comfort and belief in the way that we're playing without the ball. We can start to develop that now.
I think you'd be like every football manager in the country, whether it's the Premier League or wherever it may be. You certainly know what football's all about, highs and lows.
Yeah, we've had plenty of them already, haven't we? Slightly more highs than lows because we've won more games than we've lost, but the games that we have lost have been really, really disappointing in terms of we've been in winning positions in 2 of them, and both on home turf as well. So we've got to get better in the dying embers of games and the latter stages of games. We actually watch through, as we always do, the latter stages. We watch the whole of every game we watch, but particularly on Saturday we paid great attention to how we responded when it went to 1 each. And we were actually very good when we went to 1 each. You don't feel that at the time, because ultimately we went on and lost and conceded another goal. But other than that entry into the box when Hawkins scored, we spent a lot of time when it went 1 each at the opposite end of the pitch. So we responded much better than we did once we went down against Stevenage 2-1. But games are changed on goals, and ultimately they were the ones that were better in those final 12 minutes once the game went back to 1 each, because they went on and got the winner and we didn't.
You can't legislate for individual mistakes. You can't do anything about that. We've seen at the highest level, players do make mistakes. As a manager and a set of coaches that you've got working with you, is it all about working with the players and just trying to help them out when individual mistakes are made? Yeah,
they don't need to make them. They're fully immersed in what we're doing here at this club, these boys. So it's very hard to ever, and I certainly wouldn't do it publicly, single them out when they make mistakes. They'll only get singled out when they produce errors of judgment that can be controlled and can be avoided. Like obviously when Bass got sent off against Salford, he quite rightly got singled out for that and he holds his hands up for it. But when they're making individual errors, behind closed doors, we obviously help them to ensure that those sort of things don't keep repeating, because ultimately then, if they do keep repeating themselves, we aren't going to be where we want to end up this season. And that's the case this time around. We'll work on why those decisions were made in the cold light of day, how they can make better decisions next time round to mitigate against those types of scenarios occurring.
You're certainly a manager, and I've known you a long time, but this is like a first that you've had this role as the manager, as the main man, but you're definitely one of them who is not frightened or hide anything from holding back. That when things go wrong, you're to blame. Does that help the players as well when you take that responsibility?
I hope so. It's my name above the door. So ultimately, whether we lose a game of football because of something that's in my control or out of my control, it comes back on me, and I'm comfortable with that. I didn't have to say yes to the job. I knew that all of those things came with the role. I was fully, aware of that. And these players will give you everything. So when the chips are down and when mistakes happen and when we have periods, if we lose games of football, which is inevitable, it's important to me for everybody to know that ultimately I'm accountable, because the players need to play free of that pressure and that burden. Otherwise, they're not going to express themselves, and the games that follow after making those mistakes. So I mean it, you know, completely when I say that it's on my head, because ultimately it is. Let them go out and be who they can be and express themselves and reach the potential, and that'll allow this club to go forward and win games of football. So yeah, I'm ultimately more than comfortable with that.
So it brings a bit of extra pressure on yourself because it's on the focus of you. You know, when you do unfortunately suffer a defeat, but you feel as though I'm up for that, I can handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, whether I say it's on my head or not, and it is, it doesn't really matter in the long run, because you have to win games of football. Supporters aren't stupid. If you don't win games of football and you're losing more than you win, then you're going to be under pressure anyway, regardless of whether I say it's on my head or not. And as I say, I do genuinely mean that. That's not a ploy, it's on my head. I'm accountable. But underneath me as well, the players and the management team, they're sensible enough to know that their decisions matter as well, because you know everything cascades down to us all needing to make good decisions on a match day and in the days that lead up to the matches. So no, it's fine. That's something I'm comfortable with, and if it does help the players, obviously, to relax and know that they can, you know, express themselves out on the pitch, you know, I'm happy to do it.
Continuity is a big thing in game. Win together, lose together.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got that here. We've certainly got that here. And there hasn't been massive inquests when we've lost games of football, because we've only lost 3 so far, and we don't want to obviously ever go down the road where we will lose consecutive games, because obviously then that does become a problem for any football club, because with the result of that, belief and confidence and optimism starts to wane. So we want to make sure that we respond immediately after that defeat on Saturday, and we're confident we can do that against Carlisle in the games that follow.
Update on a couple of players then. Callum Ainley looked in real pain, and Ollie Finney's gone out of the setup for a couple of weeks with a problem. Can you bring us an update on both of those?
Yeah, Callum Ainley had a consultation with the specialist yesterday. It's the worst case scenario. Unfortunately, he's going to be about 3 months, we would suggest. So we were hoping that it could have just been clipped back into place, which it was on Saturday's dislocation, and it wouldn't have caused any external problems with ligaments and bones, but it has to both. So he's going to have to undergo an operation, and that'll be 3 months, I would suggest. With regard to Ollie, he's probably about 4 weeks away. So yeah, on top of that, we've obviously got Colkett and Long, who are also injured. So yeah, there's 4 senior players there who could impact on the games at the minute that we don't have, but we all know that football, you know, part and parcel of football is having injuries throughout the season, and we just have to contend with that and come up with solutions in the meantime.
Well, it will help a little bit. I'm pretty sure Eli King should be back and Zach Williams should be back. So that's 2 first-team squad members that you'll have at your disposal that can increase a bit of strength for you.
Yeah, fingers crossed, touch wood, that both of those come through the games that they play today. I think both of them have games today. Zach had one Thursday or Friday last week, came through unscathed. Eli's got a game today against Austria, I believe, a friendly. And I believe Zach also has another international today, a competitive fixture for the under-19s. So hopefully both of those 2 come back Thursday, fit, raring to go and refreshed, because obviously adding those numbers to the group will certainly help in terms of squad options on Saturday.